What is the dumbest idea you have ever had that actually worked? So it was my mom's birthday, we're barbecuing and we got her to stay inside and prep food so we can decorate the front with balloons and streamers and what have you. Well, we got the whole thing done in secret as hoped, but then we realized there was no way we could get all the leftover decoration material and balloon pump inside without her noticing. Now there are two ways into our house, the back door that leads into the garage and then into the kitchen where mom was, and the front door which is visible from the kitchen sink. So I told my brother I would go in from the back door and distract her while he brought the stuff in through the front and down the hall past the kitchen. Once I got in the kitchen, it had occurred to me that I had no plan of attack, so I legit just said, "Hey mom, look at this dance I made," and started like swaying and bopping up and down and doing jazz hands and going la 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 la. Mind you, I'm like 17 years old in this scenario. So she's just watching me, and when bro comes in and is sneaking through the hall behind her with all the stuff, I keep telling her wait, it's about to get good, and she kept watching in confusion. The second he was in the clear, I stopped and said okay, that's it, and that was that. We succeeded. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold. It's my first award. In my freshman year of college, my grades were really not great, and my parents were really strict about getting good grades. When my dad asked to see my grades, I panicked and did the inspect command on the computer, where you can change typefaces on the screen to read different words and letters. I changed all of my shitty grades to good grades. My dad was so happy that I did good my first year of school. He asked me to print my results. I did, and turns out he had to send them to our car insurance company for a good student discount. Ultimately, I committed insurance fraud by accident, but I got the discount. When I was like 7 years old, I was playing in my back garden with those incredibly bouncy little balls you got, just bouncing them high off the house and letting them bounce randomly before trying to catch them, as you did. One time I went for this huge throw off the wall, and it bounced crazily off various surfaces so fast I completely lost track of it. So my 7-year-old logic was to stand back in the same place and throw another ball the same way. I watched it bounce this way and that about 10 times before finally hitting a plant and coming to a rest in a flower bed. I went over to pull back the foliage and sure enough there were both balls literally lying touching each other in the mud. At the time I was like, yep, makes sense, but over the years since then I've often thought about it and how the hell it worked. In university I was late on an assignment that was supposed to be in my TA's Dropbox by noon that day. I didn't manage to get there until almost 3, so I was sure he had already emptied it. Now, the Dropboxes were literal boxes in cubbies with a slot on the front and a lock on them that prevented them from being pulled out. The rack holding them was just a basic metal frame with about 5 rows of boxes. My TA's box was somewhere in the middle of the shelf. So I figured, I'm late anyways, why not take a chance? And slipped my assignment into the box below my TA's box. I got my assignment handed back a few weeks later than everyone else, and it had a note from another TA scribbled on it that said, "Looks like this fell into my box by mistake." I got full marks on the assignment. Similar, but also not so similar. When I was in high school I was sick and out for about 2 weeks, and the day I came back we had a test in my math class for a chapter 1 almost completely missed. My math teacher warned us that it was the hardest math test of the year due to how complex and fast the chapter was. I walk into class dreading this test and I could not even try and bullshit an answer on the short answer page. I could only answer the multiple choice questions because there were options given. My teacher allowed us to rip our test sheets from the staple due to the formulas being provided. I was too embarrassed to hand in a full sheet of something I didn't even attempt, so I simply took the sheet with the short answers, put it in my pocket, and handed in only the sheet with the multiple choice questions/formulas. I put it on the pile on her desk while she was helping another student, so she wouldn't realize I was dreading the day she was handing these tests back for weeks, and the day finally arrived. She came up to me at the table I was sitting at work, my friends, and said she needed to have a private conversation with me regarding the test. I was freaking out and thought I was going to get in trouble for cheating. I went to go talk to her and she said, I lost your test, I played dumb, and she agreed to give me a mark based on the averages of all my other math tests. Basically based on what I handed in, which mind you was the only part 1 actually completed. I should have received a 11% and I ended up getting something in the high 70s. Real estate told me I had to have the carpets professionally cleaned. Wasn't in the contract, or I'd lose my $800 bond. I did some research and found out I could become an accredited carpet cleaner as there are no official licensing boards in my state. So, I did what any sane person would do. I paid the $85, did the online course, and got my certificate. Registered a business name, ABN etc, etc. All free. Handed the property management a copy of my accreditation and an invoice for services. I became a professional carpet cleaner and launched a vacate cleaning business that is still going 6 months later. Edit to add. I did clean the carpets. They claimed I didn't and required a professional cleaner's invoice as proof. So I gave them the proof. I did not charge the real estate agency. It was a copy of the invoice they claimed to require. I do professional housekeeping and cleaning for vacating a property at the end of lease. To end you get maximum bond back. I help people who are being unfairly treated by their property management and advise them on what steps to take in regards to cleaning, repairs etc. With the return of the bond and some smart shopping, I was able to purchase my own equipment to continue the job. I then claimed those costs back on tax. I wrote this and fell asleep, so waking up to a bunch of silvers and a gold is pretty damn cool. See, thank you Reddit and your love for spite. If you can't beat them, do exactly what they say. Great. This is now my highest rated comment. In college my buddy and I took an investing class, and for one of the projects we had a month to invest fake dollars into the stock market and see which team would have the most money after a month. It was spring semester, so we put all of our fake money into Heinz, thinking there would be a spike in ketchup and mustard sales as the weather got warmer. The next day, Berkshire Hathaway purchased the entire Heinz company and the professor accused us of insider trading. We had no idea what we were doing. Edit. Hey you /mandogja, we're famous. Edit 2. To clarify, we didn't actually get in trouble for insider trading, but the professor came over to us before the next class and was like, what happened here? We explained it, and she thought it was funny, but said we would definitely be investigated for insider trading if this was real money. Similar game, 1987. I was absent the day we were supposed to buy stocks. The crash happened later that week, and since I was in cash and everyone else purchased stock and lost a ton of fake dollars, I won. Dave Ramsey? Is that you? /s. Edit just so everyone knows, I made this comment in a hurry, trying to be funny, but not really thinking all the details through. By the time it dawned on me that Dave Ramsey isn't as cash centric as I was thinking, there were already a ton of replies. So I was the moron here, and I wanted to be clear that I know that. I'm impressed with the intelligence of the replies to what I thought was going to be a 1/4 funny comment. Reddit never ceases to amaze me. In college I was taking a class that required me to purchase an online textbook and workbook that was registered under your name, basically ensuring that each student would have to buy a new online copy each semester instead of buying used textbooks. I had a friend who took this class a semester before me, so we came up with the idea to message customer service and explain that I had recently gotten married, so my last name had changed, and I legally changed my first name from my friend's first name to my first name, and I would need them to change it in their system. It totally worked, and the rep even congratulated me on my marriage. I think it's nearly criminal to enforce students to buy new books instead of used ones. Especially when it's the professor's own textbook. I've never had a prof who wrote the textbook, but for one class another prof had written the textbook. First day of class the writing prof showed up and passed around a flash drive with his book on it. A good chunk of my professors teach using the books they wrote or are in the process of writing. They never even suggested buying it. They either send us a PDF by mail or tell us to buy a copy from the photocopy store nearby that has a discount for students. They stock thousands of printed out textbooks for like €2 for the thickest ones. And this is all official and normal and encouraged. They even have pirated scanned copies of foreign books on the official fucking uni domain and sometimes joke about it being illegal in class. I love our Slavic practicality. Edit. Just so you guys know, I used euros just for reference. We are not even in the EU. More accurate would be to say 200 to 300 Serbian dinars. I stuck my neck out for an ex-con on house arrest at my job. He interviewed well, but his availability was horrible between the ankle bracelet and meeting with his PO, drug treatment program, etc. My GM said no, and I said I'm doing it anyway. The first night he worked there, I found myself in a bind. He was the only person scheduled in the kitchen from 8:10 p, and I had no one who knew the kitchen besides myself, because our store had a wicked virus traveling around. I told him, look, dude, we are pretty fucked back here, and I'm going to try to keep my cool, but I can't promise. And because I'm the only manager on duty, I might have to run to the front/drive-through. Well, this guy mastered production in about an hour. He was faster than my GM on the grills and fryers, and his attitude was so good. I waited on nothing, and he even tried to help me make sandwiches and send them out. He also managed to clean up the entire kitchen. He eventually moved to maintenance and fixed all the crap the previous guy ignored in a day. Then he moved to service for more hours when the hour restrictions came off and was great with the Karens. My GM got over the ankle bracelet, record, and tattoos and actually hired him for his house flipping business. All because I said we need fucking employees and you can't be picky when he's the only guy I've interviewed in a month. Edit. Thanks for the awards. But in the future, consider spending on rehabilitation programs in your area. Some people wondered why I consider this a dumb decision. Our background check wasn't exhaustive in detail to us. It said red, yellow, green, and we usually tossed all the red ones in favor of green or yellow. I had no clue going into the interview or the hire what his offenses were. He chose to disclose to me why his availability sucked. I did not ask. I don't know the legality of asking. But he didn't disclose his record to me, and I had to go with my gut. In fast food you get a lot of teenagers as customers and employees. You get a lot of skeezy people, record or not. You have to consider the safety of the children as well as the quality of the worker you are introducing to the workplace. An ex-con is a wild card when you don't know exactly what they were in for. And again, I'm not sure the legality of me asking. After I got to know him on a personal level, he shared his record. Drug abuse led to a bunch of felonies, and he was released early on house arrest for good behavior. But again, I knew none of this as I hired. He was a great hire. He is a great man. He was the kid's defender when people chose to berate my teenager cashiers. He was a great influence on the kids, a real do as I say, and not as I did kinda guy who was painfully honest about what he lost to drugs. But he also could have been a real angry man who enjoyed fighting people and stealing.